You don't need another cloud engineer roadmap. And I know exactly how that sounds coming from a video like this one, but stay with me because that's the whole point. Be honest for just a second. How many roadmaps have you already watched? How many roadmaps have you collected, documented? The saved videos, the Reddit threads, the Notion doc with someone else's 12-step plan that you've copied 6 months ago. Now, you already know the shape of how to become a cloud engineer. Linux, networking, AWS, certifications, some projects, you apply. The information has been sitting right in front of you the whole time. And you've seen it, you've consumed it, you've seen my main channel as well, Tech with Sulaiman. So really, if you think about it, if the roadmap was the missing piece, you would be a cloud engineer by now. But obviously you're not, right? Which is why you're watching this video, which means also that the roadmap was never actually the missing piece. What's actually missing is everything nobody draws on the diagram, right? The order that makes each stage actually build on the last stage instead of just collapsing into random studying. The proof that makes a company really trust you with their infrastructure. So here is the deal for this video. I'm going to give you the complete 2026 roadmap, every stage from zero to hired. But I'm also going to show you exactly why the last 5 roadmaps that you saved didn't actually work, because this should be the last cloud engineer roadmap video that you ever need to watch, right? And I say that with real empathy because I've been there, no prior experience, nobody handing me a map. In fact, when I switched into cloud engineering in just 90 days, there was no content. There was no YouTube videos like these ones guiding you, telling you, helping you, supporting you, educating you. I had to make all the pieces fit together on my own. I had to work out what matters, what was noise, and what made companies actually trust me. And after more than a decade in tech, running my own cloud and AI businesses, helping hundreds of people land cloud roles, here is the honest version, right? Most people don't fail because they pick the wrong roadmap. They fail because they do everything in the wrong order, right? Search first, tutorials, generic projects, they get ignored and they blame the market. The real order runs the other way. It's foundations, it's platform, it's systems thinking, it's some certifications, it's some automation, projects, building proof and packaging, adding your visibility and applying for roles, interviewing, and then getting hired. So that's what we're going to be doing. What to learn, what to ignore, how to build projects that actually make a difference, how to stop circling around for months, because learning the cloud was never really the goal, right? You want to learn the cloud because you want to get hired. So let's get into it. Before the actual roadmap, something that we have to really understand is that most people trying to get into the cloud aren't lazy and they're definitely not incapable. They're basically just stuck, right? They don't know what to learn first, how deep to go, what employers really want. So they do what actually feels productive. They watch another video, they go do another course, or they do one more roadmap, right? One more certification that they start, and they hop from AWS to DevOps to security to AI. And 6 months later, it feels like they've done a lot of stuff, but nothing's changed. They're still in the same job, still making the same money. They're still saying, I'm learning, but I don't feel ready. Now, the uncomfortable part around that is that you've been productive for 6 months, but you can't name an actual thing that's changed, because activity isn't progress. Finishing a course feels like you're building some motion. So does collecting certification or comparing 2 roadmaps for the 4th, 5th time. But at some point, right, more research isn't preparation. It's a better looking way to actually avoid starting. The whole mindset around, I'll build something after I've learned a little bit more, isn't a plan. It's basically something that you keep saying to yourself to keep you comfortable in this box that you're in. So if your approach for the last 6 months hasn't moved you closer to interviews, the answer probably isn't another 6 months of doing the same thing, right? So you want to stop asking yourself, what should I learn next? You want to start asking, what proof am I building today that companies can trust me with? That will shift everything else that you're doing. So the first mistake everyone makes is they jumping straight into AWS. And I get the understanding around it because AWS is the fun part. You want to open up the console, you want to spin up services, you want to deploy something, you want to break something. But skip the fundamentals, then AWS just becomes some random things that you do. You'll click through tutorials, finish the labs, and you still won't understand what's happening underneath, which is exactly what gets you exposed in actual interviews. So you can say that you used EC2 without actually explaining networking. You can say I made a security group without understanding the traffic flow. You can say that I used IAM without understanding trust and least privilege. So you want to build the base first, right? Understand how the internet actually works. So DNS, HTTP, how traffic travels from your laptop to an application and then back, right? Get the basics of networking, IP addresses, subnets, routing, ports, firewalls, load balancers, NATs. Learn enough about Linux machines to be comfortable using the terminal because the cloud runs on Linux machines. Understand virtualization, right? The thing that lets hardware be carved into machines, containers, and managed services. Know about your databases, relational and non-relational, right? And treat security as a big part of design from day one rather than something that you do at the end, right? Understand who has access, what's private, what's public, where does secrets live, what breaks when someone gets the wrong permission. Now, I know you want to speed things up, and I know people want the shortcut, and I want to tell you that this is the shortcut. Doing things properly is the shortcut. Taking your time and learning things well is actually the fast way to do it. So build the base properly, and everything above it clicks into place faster than ever. So once the base is there, you want to pick a platform. AWS, Azure, GCP. But the key thing here is not to spend 6 months trying to think about it or debate it, because that's just procrastination, right? I would go with AWS because it's the biggest in the market, has the biggest market share, most services, best jobs. But the deeper truth is that cloud principles in general, they transfer across multiple clouds. So compute is compute, storage is storage, identity is identity, right? The names change between the providers, but the concepts don't. So pick one, go deep, and then add the others later if you ever need it. Then you want to look at the services. So AWS has over 200 services, and you don't need all of them. You need the ones that show up again and again across multiple projects and architectures. And that is the core four, right? You want to start with EC2 for compute, S3 for storage, IAM for identity, and VPC for networking. Get those properly and understand it, and then the rest will start to make a lot more sense. Then you want to add the more regulars as well. So RDS, Lambda, ECS, load balancing, auto scaling, Route 53, CloudWatch, CloudTro, API Gateway, and CloudFront, right? And in 2026, obviously, we also need to know about AI. So Amazon Bedrock is also important at a high level because AI workloads are becoming more of the landscape that we're working in. The job is about knowing when do we use each service and why would need one. Why do we use EC2 over a Lambda for this project? Or why private subnet? Why load balancer? Why IAM roles? Why does monitoring belong in the design from the start? Right, we have to understand the why behind the decisions that we're making. Then we've got the part that a lot of people skip. They hand you a list of tools, AWS, Linux, Terraform, Python, CI/CD, and they never teach you how to connect those things together, which explains why so many people join our program and they say, I know a little bit of each, but I can't see how it all fits together, right? This isn't a knowledge problem. This is a systems problem. Cloud engineering isn't a pile of tools, right? It's the ability to actually wire them into a system that solves a real business problem. So every time that you learn a new service, you need to interrogate it. What problem does it solve? Where does it sit? What does it connect to? What breaks if it goes wrong? And what are the trade-offs that we're making? That's really how you learn. Not what is EC2, what is S3, what is IAM, but actually how do I design access so every person and service has only what it needs? Because interviews aren't really testing you that you can recite the service names, right? They're testing you whether you can think and whether you can make the right judgment. Then we've got certifications. Now, certs, a lot of people get emotional about this, but AWS certifications aren't obviously useless. They teach you the language of AWS, they give you structure, they show you what exists. What they don't do is make you hireable, right? And this is where a lot of people get stuck because a cert feels safe. There is no recruiter rejecting you. There is no interviewer poking holes in your project. Just a clear exam date and a badge at the end. Like, well done, dude. So what do? People go and get the cert, then they do another one, and they do another one. They still wonder why interviews aren't even coming because they're just in this loop of doing cert after cert after cert and not actually applying for jobs. The reason is obviously simple here, right? A cert proves that you passed the exam. It doesn't prove that you can build, troubleshoot, or actually hold your own in a real environment. So use certs as an accelerator, not as a hiding place, right? Work towards the cloud practitioner or solutions architect associate, book the exam, study actively, pass it, and then move into building. Next is the skills that move you from clicking to actual engineering, right? Automation and delivery. If the word coding makes you nervous, you just need to relax, take a chill pill. You're not becoming a software engineer. It's just someone that can automate cloud infrastructure. You want to start with Bash and get comfortable with Linux, so moving around, reading logs, writing simple scripts, then get practical with Python. And when I say Python, I don't mean leak code, just reading files, calling APIs, using Bodo free, automating the boring work, right? Then you want to go into infrastructure as code. Terraform is obviously the big one here. Something to know is that real production environments, they're not built by clicking the console, right? It has to be repeatable, has to be version controlled, it has to be reviewed, and it has to be rebuildable on demand. So while everyone else is learning how to do ClickOps, which is completely fine to start with, you can define infrastructure properly. And that also puts you in a different category. But don't paste Terraform code in that you don't understand, because copying is basically doing ClickOps with some extra steps. Then we've got the delivery aspect, which is CI/CD and containers. CI/CD comes down to one question. How does code get from a laptop into production safely and repeatably? So you want to understand GitHub Actions, pipelines, builds, tests, secrets, and rollbacks. Then we've got Dockers or containers, which packages an application with everything that needs to run in it. But please don't start with Kubernetes because no beginner should be wasting their time learning Kubernetes. All right. Learn Docker first, understand containers, and then learn Kubernetes if it makes sense later on, or if the company you're working for uses Kubernetes. You'd be surprised how many people are learning Kubernetes right now, and they're applying for jobs in companies that aren't even using Kubernetes. The big mistake here is that we're diving into complexity too early. Going into Kubernetes before you understand Linux, networking, or deployments, and then you're wondering why nothing makes sense, right? We want to learn the layers in order where things just make more sense. Now, the most important part is projects. With no professional experience, your projects become your proof. But most people build them completely wrong, right? They follow the tutorial, they copy the architecture, they copy Terraform, they push the code, and they add a very weak single bullet on their CV, and they wonder why nobody gives a damn about them, right? Now, the key thing here is that the problem isn't that the project is useless. It's that a project doesn't just count automatically because you've built it, right? It counts because it proves that you can think. Right. So build from real problems, go to Upwork and job boards, read actual cloud briefs, and notice what businesses are paying people to solve these problems. So migrations, automations, CI/CD, monitoring, security, right? Container deployments. Take one of those projects and go and solve it. And then run it for a simple framework. Start with a real problem, right? Define what matters, design the architecture, and be able to explain why you pick those services and not the alternatives. Build it properly with AWS, Terraform, document what broke, and don't hide the mess that you went through to make it happen. Then once you've done that, you want to add some production mindset and production thinking. What changes when real users show up, how you monitor it, back it up, secure the secrets, and control the cost. So if I was starting today, I'll be building 3 different projects: a secured 3-tier web application, a Terraform automation project, and a monitoring, security, and incident response project, right? So dashboards, alarms to prove that I can keep systems running. And then if you want to add an AI layer as well, bolt a real feature onto one of these projects, a RAG knowledge base or internal assistant, and then deploy it, right? You learn so much by just doing, right? Because AI is not replacing cloud. It's actually making cloud way more valuable because AI is being deployed on cloud infrastructure. Now, if everything that I've described so far sounds right, but you know that the solo way of doing it will take you a year of guessing and pull you off, that's why we've built the Cloud Engineer Academy, right? You get the roadmap, the technical training, real portfolios. We've got real students with wins that got hired. You can actually go and join our free school community as well. Link is in the description below. You've got some completely free resources in the classroom section in here. And then if you'll land on this landing page, you can see, just click to join and you'll get all the information that you need. We've helped over hundreds of IT professionals, engineers, and career switchers do this properly, including people work at companies like AWS and Microsoft. So there's a link in the description below to book a call with my team. We'll help you get hired in just 90 days. So yeah, you'll get the roadmap, the technical training, the interview prep, portfolio projects, CV, LinkedIn, mentorship and feedback until you are hired. So if you're interested, go book a call below or join this school community. Again, link in the description below. So stage 7 is packaging and positioning. Once you build the projects, you want to package them properly because a lot of people build something solid and then they bury it. All right, your GitHub is in storage. It's basically a sales page for your technical ability. The README should explain what the project does, the architecture, the services, and why you chose them, right? What broke and what you fixed, what you would improve in production. It's the same with LinkedIn, right? On LinkedIn, you want to be active. Post your diagrams, the walkthroughs, the trade-offs, right? Upload some videos of you walking through your projects, right? Because this is all proof that you can do the work, right? Because at the end of the day, if nobody knows you got these skills, nobody's going to come and reach out to you. Now, your CV is also a marketing document. Right? And the only task is to make someone believe that you're worth interviewing. Don't write that you built projects with AWS and RDS because that says absolutely nothing. We're going to write that you designed and deployed a secure 3-tier AWS architecture using EC2, VPC, RDS, right? And Terraform with private database. You want to make it tangible, right? You want to tailor each CV per role. So if it's a DevOps role, you want to tailor it to Terraform and CI/CD, right? If it's more cloud engineering, you want to focus more on cloud infrastructure and security and scaling and all this kind of stuff. So really tweak your CV and make it effortless to see where you fit, right? Because if your CV is very confusing and it doesn't really match the job description that you applied for, the person reviewing that is also going to be confused. We want to apply like a sales process. Now, most people apply like this. They open up LinkedIn, they hit easy apply, they send the same CV 20 to 30 times, get ignored, and they say that the market is dead, right? That's not a strategy. Applying is a sales process. So track it, right? Have the role, the company, the date, the CV version, the recruiter, the response, the outcome. And after a few weeks, the patterns will show up. Which CV pulls the most replies? Which titles are realistic? and which projects spark the interest. That's a lot of data that you'll have. And if you're getting 0 interviews, then don't be sending out more applications with the same broken CV and the same profile, right? Because you're just going to keep getting rejected at a higher scale. You want to fix the signal first, and then you want to apply again. Then you want to reach out directly to recruiters, to hiring managers, to engineers at these companies. A short message, a Loom if it fits the project, the role that you applied for. The reality is that most people won't do it. All right, which is why most people won't get a job, because it feels uncomfortable. But that discomfort is exactly your advantage. You need to be willing to do things that most people aren't willing to do. Because if you're going to do the same thing as everyone else who are not getting results, then guess what? You're not going to get any results either. Then we've got interviews, right? Build your projects the right way, and interview prep gets easy, right? Because the project actually becomes the story that you build and the story that you'll talk through in interviews. So when they ask you about a cloud project, you don't say, I use Eastern RDS. You say that I wanted to simulate a real company deployment where the database wasn't publicly accessible. So I built a VPC with public and private subnets, put the app behind a load balancer, kept the database private, right? And built this all with Terraform. Then you can explain what broke, right? So when I was testing things, the application couldn't reach the database first. My security group rules were broken, so I traced the path and then fixed it. Then you can say about production thinking. So you can say if this was live, I'd improve the backup process, I'd tighten the secret manager, and I'll review the cost that this would produce, right? That's really how we start sounding like a real engineer, because we are actually doing the real work that an engineer would do. So if you want to become a cloud engineer, start behaving, acting, speaking, operating, thinking like one from day 0. So let's make it concrete. Now, this doesn't mean that everyone's going to land their first job in 90 days, right? Not everyone's special like me, but some do. Some take longer, depending on your background and effort, but it gives you a structure to run. In our academy, the fastest time that someone got a new role was within week 6. So 6 weeks from when they joined the academy, they got a new job as a cloud engineer. Day 1 to 30, foundations, so how the internet works, Linux, cloud concepts, security, core AWS services. Day 31 to 60, hands-on building, so Terraform, Python, CI/CD, Docker. We want to start deploying small systems, break them, fix them, document them. Right, this way you stop being a passive learner. And day 60 to 90, we want to build and package. So 3 portfolio projects, strong readmes, diagrams, walkthroughs, LinkedIn posts, right? A strong CV. And this is where our learning for the last 90 days becomes proof for interviews. And the whole way through, you want to ask one question. What can I solve today that I couldn't solve 30 days ago? That's progress, right? It's not 30 hours of watching videos. It's not notes taken. It's problems solved. What to leave for now, right? Don't spend 6 months choosing between AWS, Azure, GCP, right? Pick one and build it. Don't start Kubernetes because you're not ready. Don't collect certs while dodging projects. Don't build tutorials you can't explain. Don't generate infrastructure with AI that you don't understand, and don't wait until you feel 100% ready to apply for jobs, right? Because that feeling is never, ever coming. Above all of that, don't confuse activity with progress, right? Watching videos, reading Reddit, saving roadmap, buying courses, all of this feels like productive and feels like you're making progress, and none of it actually counts if you can't solve real problems. Right? Like I always say, the market rewards proof, not effort, not potential, not how long you've been learning and interested in cloud. Proof. Because it's 2026, a big word on AI, right? Use it. Claude, ChatGPT to explain your concepts, debug, review your work, architecture, learn faster. What you can't do is outsource your thinking, because AI is actually a force multiplier. With strong fundamentals, it makes you faster, it makes you better. With weak ones, it makes you dangerous, because now you can generate bad Terraform. You can stand up insecure infrastructure. You can sound confident about things that you don't understand. So AI doesn't remove the need for the fundamentals. It actually makes them way more important. So here's the part that nobody really wants to talk about, right? And it matters more than any service on the list. You already have enough to start. You've known this for a while. So the question I want to ask you is that why haven't you, right? It isn't information. People don't change when they learn something new. They change when staying the same becomes more uncomfortable than the risk of moving. Think about it like weight. Nobody loses it the day they become overweight, right? They lose it the day they finally decide that they don't want to be that person anymore that's overweight. The decision always comes first. Everything before it, the research, the comparing, the ones things settle down, I'll do this. It's just noise, right? And that's really the trap. When's the right time never arrives, because the conditions never really line up perfectly, to be honest. And then you start, because starting is what lines all of these things up together. The truth is that saying that I don't have time usually means that this isn't important enough for me or not urgent enough for me. And you'll always find time for what you've actually decided that matters for you. What you're calling not ready is often just being comfortable, to be honest. Because the truth that most people avoid is that doing nothing is also a decision. Staying in the same job is a decision, right? Self-studying at random for another year on your own, not making progress, is also a decision that you've made. And all of these decisions quietly compound because you don't need more motivation, right? Motivation spikes and it dies. What you actually need is certainty that the effort pays off. And certainty isn't something that you wait to feel, right? You build it. You build it by doing the reps, finishing a project, surviving a bad interview, and coming back sharper. You build it by trusting a path people ahead of you have already walked, instead of demanding the entire map before you even take the first step. The map doesn't exist for anyone. So the real question isn't, have I found the perfect roadmap, right? This is the roadmap. I've made plenty of cloud engineer roadmap videos on my main YouTube channel. The question is whether your actions actually match the life that you want. And if you want to be a cloud engineer, your calendar should show it. Your GitHub should show it. Your applications should show it. We become what we repeatedly do. So start doing what cloud engineers do, right? Build systems, break them, secure them, document them, and put in the work where the market can actually see it. So that's the cloud engineer roadmap for 2026. Foundations, platform, systems thinking, certs, automation, projects, proof, packaging, visibility, applications, and interviews in that order. But notice what just happened, right? I gave you the whole strategy, and the strategy was never really the thing in your way, right? The decision was to make it happen. So if you've watched this far in this video thinking it makes sense, but I've tried things alone, I'm still not sure what to do next, that's not a sign that you're not smart enough. It means that guessing is slow, and you move faster with structure, real projects, and people who've done it. So if you want that, the free school community below, right? Or take a look at my Cloud Edge Academy. If you'd rather go solo, completely fine. But don't watch this and do absolutely nothing. Like, please make a decision to take action, right? Pick the next step, start the foundation, build the projects, fix the CV, apply, get feedback, and then move on. Because learning AWS has never been a goal, right? You did not grow up and think, I want to do AWS, learn AWS, right? Actually, getting a high-paying tech job was the goal. Becoming hireable was the goal. As always, I'm rooting for you. Go and become undeniable.